So for Sony fans, today has been nipple-tweakingly thrilling because the mobile division launched not just one, but three fresh new smartphones, including the Billy Big Bollocks Xperia 1 Mark III flagship, which comes packing all kinds of funky features, including the world's first 4K 120Hz OLED display and a shagload of new gaming and camera features. Now, we don't know the official UK pricing of the Sony Xperia 1 Mark III just yet, and Sony Mobile has been pretty cagey on the whole release date aspect as well, which isn't a massive shock, limiting themselves to early summer as a sort of general hazy guess. So while I haven't had a chance to go hands-on with the Xperia 1 Mark III just yet, hopefully my full unboxing and review will be coming soon, but for now here's a run through of all of the specs and features that you need to know just to get your engine running. And for more of the latest greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So first up, the design understandably hasn't changed up much at all from last year's Xperia 1 Mark II. The third version is once again a smooth, shiny 6.5-inch phallus, standing tall and slender thanks to Sony's 21:9 design. It's not exactly an extensive range of colour options here in Blighty. You've got a choice of frosted black or frosted purple. There is also a frosted grey model, but that won't be coming to the UK, although it's not exactly a massive loss. Because to be fair, that frosted purple looks sexy as f anyway. You've got a fresh coating of Gorilla Glass Victus on the front end of the Xperia 1 Mark III to help protect from scratches, and it's also more drop resistant than previous versions. You've got Gorilla Glass 6 around back, and the whole thing is IP68 water and dust resistant. So basically the Xperia 1 Mark III is tougher than taking on demon souls after 10 pints of best. On the actual software front, well, it'll be a similar experience to what we've already got on the Xperia 1 Mark II and the Xperia 5 Mark II. You've got the latest Android 11 on there, with Sony's usual Xperia UI adding features like a one-handed mode and a good bit of side sense action, all those classics. And the Xperia 1 Mark III serves up a whopping 256 gigs or 512 gigs of internal storage, depending on which model you go for. And I did notice that the official spec sheet made no mention of micro SD memory card support. I've hit up Sony to see whether it does support micro SD memory cards or not. Haven't heard back from them just yet, but when I do know for sure, I'll update either in the description or I'll pin a comment down below. And no surprise to see that the fingerprint sensor is once again built into that edge-mounted power button as well, so hopefully it should be nice and comfortable and intuitive to use, but again, there's bugger all face recognition to back that up. Now, one of the highlights of Sony's Xperia mobiles is undoubtedly the gorgeous displays, and once again here you get a 6.5-inch 4K OLED screen just like last year's model. I say just like last year's model, but Sony has actually bumped up the refresh rate from a piddly 60Hz to a rather smooth and refreshing 120Hz. Definitely a massive display feature that was missing from last year's model. And as I mentioned in my crappy little preamble, that does mean that this is the world's first 4K 120Hz OLED display. Although sadly it's not adaptive, you will have to go into the display settings and manually set it to either 60 or 120Hz, depending on whether you want that buttery smoothness or slightly longer battery life. You've got that usual 21:9 cinematic finish, which is brilliant for movies and not so great for classic telly shows. And yeah, there's full HDR support for streaming services like Netflix, and you get Sony's usual software enhancements for upscaling any crappy content and adjusting the visuals so they're just as the director intended via that creator mode. And apparently Sony will be individually calibrating every single Sony Xperia 1 Mark III display in the factory as well, so there's absolutely zero tint. Get those nice perfect crisp whites, although to be fair, I found that the white balance on the Xperia 1 Mark II was excellent anyway, and of course you've got the full customization inside of those display settings. And the Xperia 1 Mark III will also boast a stereo speaker setup as usual, but now with 40% louder and richer bass compared with the Xperia 1 Mark II to really blast your bollocks into orbit. Or tits if you're a lady. And apparently, according to Sony, those stereo speakers will somehow support 360 reality audio output, and also the phone has the ability to upscale any standard dual channel tracks to full-on 360-degree audio, so that's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to testing that out. It's great to see Sony going balls deep with the audio tech like it always does. You've got the usual support for the likes of Dolby Atmos, and of course good old high-res audio, which you can fully enjoy via the headphone jack, which now apparently here on the Xperia 1 Mark III boasts an optimized output circuit to help reduce any distortion. I've got to say, I didn't notice any distortion at all on the Xperia 1 Mark II using that headphone jack, but then my lugs are absolutely buggered from years of stupid raving when I was a nipper. And you've got the usual LDAC action, of course, as well, if you want to do a bit of Bluetooth. Now, Sony doesn't bugger about when it comes to the performance, so it's unsurprising to see that the Xperia 1 Mark III is powered by Qualcomm's super duper Snapdragon 888 chipset, backed by 12 gigs of DDR5 RAM. So certainly anything you try to do on this smartphone should be nice and buttery smooth, and of course gamers delight because that gamer dashboard is back in action as well, now packing all kinds of great new features. So for instance, you've got the likes of the low gamma razor. What this feature does is basically highlights those darker areas so it's more easy to see any sneaky wee crouching hiding in the dark, ready to stab you in the jugular. You've also got a new audio amplifier feature as well, which allows you to boost certain sounds such as footsteps, again just to clue you into any sneaky sods trying to come on you from behind. Come at you from behind. There's also the catchily named Optimize Voice Chat Microphone feature, which basically just helps to emphasize your own vocals and cut down on any background noise when you're slagging off your mates mid-game. And of course, you can still record all of the action for future posterity, uploading at a later date, all that good stuff, but now at a stunning 120 frames per second. And there's also the fresh new Rewind Time Record feature as well, which is constantly just capturing 30 seconds of footage in the background, so if you pull off some ridiculous bit of skill blend, hit record just after it, you won't lose any of that action. As for the battery tech, well, Sony has found space inside of that slender chassis for a 4500 milliamp battery. Hopefully should keep you going all day, even with a fair bit of camera use and a good bit of gaming on the side as well, even at that 120 Hz rate. Of course, you'll have to stay tuned for my full review to see if that really is the case. As for the recharging speeds, well, it's 30 watt wired charging, not the nippiest around. Admittedly, a lot of budget phones these days have 33 watt charging or even faster than that, but at least you do get full wireless charging support here on the Xperia 1 Mark III as well. And as usual, Sony's got its adaptive charging tech running there in the background as well, just to help prevent any long-term battery damage. Now let's finish up with a look at the camera tech, and once again Sony Mobile has teamed up with Zeiss to produce the lenses on the Xperia 1 Mark III and its own alpha camera division as well for the features and the fine-tuning. As usual, you've got a trio of 12 megapixel lenses slapped on that arse end, but now all three of them support dual phase detection, autofocus, plus you've also got a time of flight lens as well to help with the real-time object tracking. So you've got a 24mm primary shooter with optical image stabilization, you've got a 16mm ultra-wide angle shooter, but now the telephoto lens can swap between 70mm and 105mm focal lengths. You may not get any ridiculous 120 times space zoom shenanigans or anything like that, but hopefully you should be really good at taking shots of your subject at a distance, especially with the built-in OIS to help keep things nice and steady. The Sony Xperia phones are always great when it comes to shooting living subjects. Once again, here on the Xperia 1 Mark III, you've got that real-time eye autofocus for both humans and animals. And you've also got some real-time object tracking on here as well, helped along by that time of flight lens. And that just helps to keep your subject nice and sharp, even if they turn away from camera so their eyes are no longer visible. Basically, they should be kept nice and sharp, even if they're squirming around like a squirrel trying desperately to shit a cactus. Burst shooting is once again supported by the Xperia 1 Mark III at a stunning 20 frames per second with full autofocus and auto exposure support thrown in there as well. The Xperia 1 Mark III can again perform up to 60 calculations per second. And apparently the new flagship can even do burst shooting in low light, so I'll be very keen to test that out, see exactly how good those photos are. And for any photography fans out there, especially people who own a DSLR like a Sony Alpha camera, you've got that Photo Pro mode back on board, which offers a comprehensive set of controls and features. And apparently Sony has now added a basic mode to the Photo Pro app, which seems kind of counterintuitive, but it's basically designed to provide a less intimidating UI for anyone who's maybe not quite so au fait with DSLRs. So they've got access to the full range of controls, but quite a lot of it is automated by default as well, just to ease you in. And the likes of the Cinema Pro mode is also back in action, and you can hook up, of course, the Xperia 1 Mark III to your DSLR camera and use it as a viewfinder, just as you could the likes of the Xperia Pro. And very last up, around the front end of the Xperia 1 Mark III, you do have an 8 megapixel selfie camera buried away in that top bezel, and you know, these things are usually a bit of an afterthought on Sony Xperia smartphones, which is absolutely fine by me, because why would I want to take many photos of my baldy bonce anyway? Should be absolutely fine for your Skyping shenanigans, all that good stuff. So there you go, my lovelies. That is the Xperia 1 Mark III Sony flagship smartphone for 2021 in a nutshell. And as you can see, quite a few new gaming and camera features packed in there as well as the specs upgrades that we all hoped for and expected, like the Snapdragon 888 chipset and that 120Hz OLED 4K display. So hopefully that has got your Y-fronts well and truly moist. I'm hoping to bring you a full unboxing and review of the Sony Xperia 1 Mark III imminently, although with an early summer release date, who knows, it might be a couple of months. I'm certainly excited, hopefully you guys are too. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and check out my Xperia 5 Mark III roundup as well, which has also gone live at the same time as this bad boy. And poke subscribe, do that notifications bell. Is there anything I missed off? Don't think so. Have a fantastic bloody rest of the week. Love you!